I got into sales, and the only job I could get was knocking on doors, cold calling from door to door, and I had no training and no experience. The only thing I could think of was to work hard. At least it wasn't like working on a farm or working on a ship. It was clean work. So I was told that selling is not really selling a selling job. It's really a rejection job, and the more rejections you get, the more sales you'll make. This was the totality of my sales training. So I used to get up earlier and earlier each day so I could knock on more doors, so I could be rejected more often. And I began starting at 6, 7, or 8 o'clock in the morning when people came to work, and I would knock on doors all day. In the evenings, I would go out and knock on doors of homes and apartments. I would sometimes work 12 to 14 hours a day. I worked 30 days before I made my first sale. This is not a good way to live, I can tell you that. So I went to the top man in our company, who was a little bit older than me, but he was earning 10 times as much as I was, and I asked him, "Why are you so successful? Why are you so successful? Why are you earning so much money?" And he said, "Well, show me your sales system, your sales process, and I will give you feedback on it." I said, "Well, I don't have a sales system. I just knock on doors and talk to people until they tell me that they're not interested, and then I go and do it again and again." I was getting up at 6 or 7 in the morning. I was knocking on doors from 8 o'clock in the morning when people came to work, and I would work all day. Then I would go out and knock on the doors of apartments and homes, and I was working 12, sometimes 14 hours a day. Sometimes I would work 12 hours and not make one sale. And it was a small sailor. He said, No, he said, "That's not the way you sell." He said, "The way you sell is by asking questions and then looking for ways to help your customers achieve their goals with our products." So I went out and I started to ask questions rather than talking, and people started to respond to me differently. Then I began to read books on selling, and then I began to listen to audio programs on selling, and then I began to go to seminars on selling. And every time I learned something new, my sales went up and up and up. My sales went up and up. Within 1 year, I was earning 10 times as much. I was earning more at the age of 25 than I ever dreamed I would ever earn in my life. I was earning more than my father had earned after 40 years of hard work. I couldn't believe it. What I learned was this, is that every single field has success formulas. It has recipes that you can follow. And that if you do what other successful people do, you finally get the same results that they do. So, for the rest of my life, whenever I got into another business, and I've been in 22 different businesses, I would sit down and say, what is the success formula in this business? How do people succeed? What do the top 20% of companies and the top 20% of individuals do? And then I would do that, and I would soon get the same results. People say, "How can you be successful when you've never been in this business before?" I said, "I just read the books. I just talked to the top people, and they told me what to do." Prudential Insurance Company did a study some years ago, and they put thousands of agents that they have throughout the United States into their computers and compared their income. It came out the 80-20 rule worked. 20% of the salespeople were doing 80% of the business. Well, they had all the data on the computer, so they ran it through one more time. They said, "What's the average income of the top 20% compared to the bottom 80? Now, for those mathematicians among you, that works out to the top 4%. What was the average income? They found that top 4% were earning, on average, 32 times the average of the people on the bottom 80%. So they said, "This is interesting," and they ran it through one more time. They found that the top 20% of the top 20% of the top 20, which is the top 0, 8%, that's good, top 0. 8% were earning, on average, 54 times the average of the people in the bottom 80%. What they found is that in every state and in every major city where they had an office with a large number of agents working out of it, there was one agent who was selling the same product at the same price to the same people with the same competition under the same circumstances, under the same set of difficulties in the economy, who was earning 50 times the amount of the average agent there. There were 50 agents in the office, and one person was earning more than all of them put together. Isn't that amazing? And one of the things they found is that the key to this was that each one of these agents had made the commitment to become excellent early in their career. They didn't say, "I'm going to go into this and I'm going to earn a living." They said, I'm going to go into this and I'm going to be the best. And they read every single book written by the top agents, and they went to every single seminar, and they listened to every single tape, and they spent every single hour they could with other successful people learning what they needed to know to be successful. You must commit yourself to excellence. You must commit yourself to becoming the best, and the wonderful thing is that excellence is a journey. It's not a destination. You never get there. Complacency and satisfaction are the key enemies of excellence. But once you commit yourself to becoming excellent, the whole world opens up for you. A very important point of excellence just means simply this. Do your best every time out and always strive to do it better. Do your best every time out and always strive to do it better. Remember, it's the last 5 or 10% of any job or project that makes all the difference. And what we do is we get to 90% done, and then we start to drag our heels. We start to put the paperwork aside. We start to think of excuses. We start to think of excuses. We start to do what is hard and easy rather than what is hard and necessary. A second point with regard to excellence is this. If you are not excellent in your field, you don't go anywhere. You're locked in place. I had a young man come up to me at an employment seminar not long ago. He said, there's no opportunities in sales. I just got laid off. And I said, young man, if you were good in your field, you would not have been laid off, because good salespeople are the rarest people in our society. And he just said, well, I said, have you ever studied sales? He said, well, I don't need to study sales. I said, why not? He says, well, I just do what comes naturally. I said, I rest my case. Selling is an art. Selling today is a profession. Selling is a science. In order to be good in selling, you have to study it and study it and study it. And you have to study it more than the person next door who's also determined to become excellent. Excellence yields opportunities, because when you become good, you open up. It's almost like the Red Sea of opportunity opens up in front of you. When you become excellent, you come to the attention of people, and people try to get you, and they give you more responsibilities and more opportunities. And, you know, when you put on your business card that you're the top person in your particular field, people like to buy it from the best salespeople in their fields. And by the way, you can tell how excellent you are at any time in your life. You can tell how excellent you are. It's a very simple measure. How many job offers have you had this month? Interesting question. How many jobs? How many people called you up and said, I want to hire you away from where you are, and I'll pay you more and give you a better deal, because excellent people get job offers every month. Some of them get job offers every single week. If you're not getting job offers, the market is telling you this is what they think of your level of competence. Very, very important. And if you're going to do anything at all, the only time you're going to get any joy out of it is if you do it well. You see, when we do something well, it gives us a feeling of self-esteem and pride. We feel like a winner. But if we do things in an average way, it doesn't give us anything. You notice that. It doesn't give us anything. We do it in an average way, it doesn't give us anything. But if we do it in a really exceptional way, it makes us feel wonderful about ourselves. That's why the companies that have committed to excellence are not hundreds of percent better in any given area. What they are is they're 1 or 2% better in 100 different areas. That's the key. First of all, you talk to people and you separate prospects from suspects. You make sure the person you're talking to can and will buy your product or service if he likes it. You don't spend time with people who don't have any money or have no interest or have no need for what you're selling. So the first part of professional selling is prospecting. And you'll find that if you want to be successful in selling, you must become very, very good at prospecting. So the second part is building trust with the prospect or the customer. People will not buy from you. People will not even seriously listen to you unless they like you and they trust you. Now here's an interesting discovery. The biggest obstacle to finding new customers is the fear of rejection. We are afraid that customers will be negative or insulting or disapproving. We're afraid of rejection, which is quite normal, and we're afraid of failure. So the fears of failure combined with rejection hold us back from calling on people. And here's what we've discovered. Everyone starts off in life with low self-esteem and high fears. But as your self-esteem goes up, I like myself, I like myself, I like myself, I like myself, I like myself. As your self-esteem goes up, your fears go down. And the more you like yourself, the more courage you have. The more courage you have, the less afraid you are, the more willing you are to call on more people. Now, if you call on lots of people, eventually you become good at prospecting. When you're good at prospecting, you lose your fear. In fact, you start to enjoy calling on new people. So the starting point of sales success is calling on new people, and that starts off with high levels of self-esteem. And I worked with people. I remember talking to a man recently. He said he started off in sales, but he had low self-esteem. He said he quit in 1 week because he could not tolerate the rejection. The rejection, he said, was too much for him to take. Too many people said no, so he quit. He was doing very poorly in life, but the rejection, he said, was too much for me. I could not accept so much rejection because he had low self-esteem. The second thing we know is establishing trust and likability. The more you like yourself, the more you like other people. The more you like other people, the more they like you and are willing to listen to you and buy from you. We find that the one-to-one relationship between your level of self-esteem and your level of sales. High self-esteem salespeople are the highest earning salespeople in the world. In fact, they did a study with a major company, and they took 2 groups of sales candidates and they gave them tests. One group had average self-esteem, and they put them through 3 months of training and then sent them out to sell. The other group had high levels of self-esteem, and they sent them out to sell with no training at all. Can you guess what happened? Within 6 months, the group with no training at all, but high self-esteem, was selling 2 and 3 times as much. The fully trained group with low self-esteem, because the extension of self-esteem is self-confidence. There's your high levels of self-confidence. So self-esteem, self-confidence, and building trust with customers is absolutely essential. Now, the third part of selling is identifying needs, is finding out the customer situation by asking them a lot of questions. Now, we know that for a customer to buy, they must have one of 3 things. They must have a need that has not been satisfied. For instance, if you sell headache pills, they must have a headache. They must have the need. You never try to create a need when you sell. You try to find someone who already needs the benefits of what you sell and then talk to them and try to get them to buy your product rather than your competitors. Or a good prospect must have a problem that has not been solved. So when you ask questions, you're looking for the need of the problem. Or third of all, a good prospect must have a goal that they want to achieve. Maybe it's financial independence, maybe it's ideal health. They must have a goal that they want to achieve, and your job is to show them how your product or service will help them to achieve that goal. So in the third phase of selling, what you do is you ask a lot of questions to find out how you can help this person to satisfy a need or solve a problem or achieve a goal. Now, here's an interesting discovery based on 25 years of research and tens of millions of dollars and 55,000 interviews and videotaped sales conversations between salespeople and customers. What we found is this. If you sell out of sequence, you kill the sale. And this is a real eye-opener for me. Most people have never seen this research. It cost millions of dollars, and it was paid for by several large companies who are trying to find ways to sell more effectively. What we found is that there is a logical buying process that a customer goes through. Therefore, you have to get your selling process so that it dovetails or fits with a buying process. If you do that, the sale comes out every time. Top salespeople can sell to 4 out of 5 people that they talk to. Poor salespeople can maybe sell to 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 20, which is why salespeople who are well skilled are some of the highest paid people in our society. So what I learned is you can never talk about your product or service until you have asked a lot of questions to discover whether or not this person really needs what you're selling. So no matter what happens in the short term, always predict growth. Always predict growth in your life. Always create growth in your work. Always predict growth in your family. Always predict growth, and, suddenly you'll be right most of the time. Everybody in sales should be an expert on behavioral psychology. Whenever I hear a person say, well, I don't need to study that, I do what comes naturally. The person is saying, I'm determined to be a failure for the rest of my life, and I'm announcing it to anybody who will listen. Because sales is so precise, the ability to communicate and to persuade and influence other people is such a complex field. Some psychologists study it all of their lives. If you become excellent in it, you can write your own ticket. Almost all entrepreneurial fortunes, people who start with nothing and become billionaires, do it because they're good salespeople. They're good at convincing others. They get excited about their ideas, but they have the skills to be able to persuade other people to go along with them. Think like a customer. The very best companies think like a customer. What do customers want? What do customers need? And the key to success is to make your customers happy and then make them happier than your competitors. And then every single day wake up and think, how can I make my customers happier? And they went and interviewed the CEOs of 4 of the 500 fastest growing companies, and every one of them was obsessed with customers. They thought about customers, they talked about them, they visited customers, they called customers, and they went and saw customers, and they went and saw customers. They personally responded to customer complaints. They were just obsessed with it. At the Harvard Business School, they came to this conclusion a few years ago that in the 21st century, all selling would be relationship selling. All success in business will be based on relationships. Your very best customers, I can tell you, are the people that you like and the ones who like you. 85% of your recommendations and referrals will come from people who like you and people who feel good about you. So focus on the relationship and the sale will take care of itself. If you aim at the sale or you think too much about the sale, what will happen is you will have neither the relationship nor the sale. So how do you build a high-quality relationship with other people? Well, here's the rule. The rule is that listening builds trust. Customers want a relationship before anything else. And listening builds trust. So how do you get a chance to listen? The key to making sales is to ask questions. And the very best salespeople are simply those who ask really good questions. And this is worth $1 million to you over the course of your career. This one piece of advice is, people don't care what your product is. They don't care about you. They don't care about your company. They don't care about your company. They don't care about the background of your company, and they don't even care what the product is. People don't care. The only thing they care about is what this product or service does for me. If you have a little child, the child says, me, mine, mine, mine. Mine, mine, me. All customers care. They're just children with better excuses. All they think about is, me, me, me. What do I get? What's in it for me? What they want is they want a change in their life. They want an improvement in their life. A result, a benefit, or highest of all, is a transformation. They want to be transformed.